Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. That's right, it's Monday night here at Studio 02. Brought to you by Chan's Used Auto Parts. It's Beyond the Tech Shed. That's right, episode number 2 coming at you. Elbows up style, big energy. We're glad to have you coming in tonight. I'm sure we're going to have a great crowd. That's right, you're all fresh off Thanksgiving. Man, I hope everybody had a good holiday. We did, that's for sure, on our end. No doubt about it. We got a lot to talk about tonight. And once again, episode number 2. I'm going to get back here in my chair here. We're going to get this party started. Freddie, we good? Freddie says we're good. We're good. Okay, once again, ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank the sponsors of this show, specifically TB's Auto Body. That's right, in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, 35-plus years in the business, doing auto body collision work. Also a huge sponsor of the Thunder Car class at Path Valley Speedway. Cannon's Powder Coating. We don't want to forget them. They're a great sponsor for this mini-series, we'll call it, and the overall Elbows Up shows. They're located in Chambersburg in the Letterkenny Army Depot section. And, man, they're doing a lot of powder coating, a lot of great things. They got a lot of great programs going on. So they were actually here for episode 1, and we got to talk with them a little bit. And, recognize them. That's what it's all about. It keeps the big wheel going, as I always say. Man, I got to tell you, episode number 2. If we look back, episode number 1, we had Craig Klein on. Craig's been around racing a lot of years. And currently, he's been a part of A&C. They build engines. They build race engines. He's been an owner. He's been a worker. Hell, he's been everything. You know what I'm saying? Well, we had Craig on, and it's always good to talk to him, and he had some thoughts on things. And we also had Kyle Lear. He's obviously been in the racing business many years. He's driven crates. He's driven limited, still does, and he's dipped into supers. And, we talked about these 525 motors, okay? We talked about the 525 motors in comparison to the 358 steel block, I call it traditional limited late model motor, running on alcohol, okay? And, we went through some tidbits as far as what makes these 525s tick and what these guys knew, meaning Craig and Kyle last episode. And we talked about the 358s, what makes them tick. We talked about cost. We talked about feasibility, longevity, okay, all the things that people buying engines want to hear. And we talked about teching. Okay, we talked about promoters, okay, and where do these motors fit in? How do we fit them in if they're going to fit in? Okay, we had a lot of commentary, which was good for the show, and a lot of comments, questions, and we answered them. We're going to fill them tonight as well. We have. Actually, we're going to say 3 people. One's a call-in. We have 2 physically with us tonight that are going to come up here and talk. Our call-in, we're going to get to that here in just a second. Freddie, we all good up there?
Yeah, we're all good.
Okay, Fast Freddie says we're all good. We're all good. Once again, we got to check in with Fast Freddie on the Digitism station up there, the soundboard as we call it. But no, tonight we want to welcome on. We want to welcome on Jacob Piper, driver of that number 21P. That's right, and his father, John Piper, making up JP3 Racing, and we even have Jace Piper. That's right. He's in the backdrop there. He's going to hang out in the audience, keep things squared up. But let's go ahead and bring these guys up. We've got a lot to get to. So Jacob Piper, John Piper, they're going to come up here, take their seat. And you pick right or left there, bub. Okay, don't knock anything down. That's good. I'm just teasing. Okay. Now, just hold that button down, John, and that'll tune you up.
Test.
You got them? Fred, you got them?
Yeah, they're on. You're good.
Okay. Okay, so everybody's plugged in. So obviously we got Jacob Piper here. He's driven in the limited late model, still does some here and there, right? And more supers last year. He's been fortunate enough to grab some wins in the supers, obviously, and the limiteds as well. We got his father, John Piper, here on set as well. Now, these guys, they had got into the 525 program last year, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And they also own, or did own, maybe still own, a traditional 358 steel block limited late model at one time.
Yeah, we sold that beginning of last year, we sold it sometime last year, our true 358 motor, and then we switched. We got our super stuff and we had 525 motor.
Okay, gotcha. I gotcha. Now, let me ask you this question. I'm just going to ask you right out of the gate. What made you sell the 358 and we did this 525?
My opinion was we had some thoughts of traveling a little bit, and it was attractive, the traveling series they had down south with the I believe it was
Steel Block Bandits.
Bridge Outlaws, whatever it was called. They had some and I think Quaid and some of those guys
Mm-hmm.
out here ran that series.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought that was something we might want to try to do, but then also you try to be on the front of a curve sometimes.
Okay.
And we kind of thought that this might be something that's more attractive to more racers and more teams. So we just took a chance at it and decided we were going to sell our 358 and go with the 525.
Okay.
A lot of things factored into that decision, but that's mainly why we were going to do it. We were going to do a little more traveling and then go south, but that never worked out either. But.
Right, I gotcha. Well, you mentioned there are a lot of things factored in that. Obviously, things that factor into that. I said earlier, we look at cost, we look at longevity. Okay, I'm sure these are some of the things you guys looked at as well. Am I correct?
Yeah, we weren't truly going to plan on running that, like, say, a full season in a 525 motor. So if we wanted to prolong the season, you can run a 525 motor quite a few races more than you can run a 358 motor. So it made sense sort of to try to stay ahead of having to spend money rather than you're not racing to make money, but
Correct.
But you're sort of cut your losses with a motor that's going to last longer. And I still think get a very similar product to a true 358 motor. So we sort of chose to go that route, and hopefully that route was a good decision.
Okay, so now I've seen Tyler Hershey ran that car last year. Okay, that was a Brent Smith throwback car that had the 525 in it. You were in the 525. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I'm just going to ask you point blank. You've driven both now. Did you see a marked difference in the 525 to the traditional 358 steel block?
I personally think a steel block would restart better and like go sort of get up to speed quicker. I mean, that's not what the torque curves say, but that's what I felt. Once you're sort of racing, you just have to drive them so hard compared to like a 358. You were kind of checking out, like getting up into the corner. You were letting up earlier than you were like a 525. You're pretty much wide open till the center of the corner, and then you sort of feather back out. But they both drive very, very similar. I think when the track slicks off, a 525 is easier to drive just due to the fact you don't have as much wheel spin, that kind of stuff. But they both drive similar. I don't know if there's that much difference in them. Maybe a little bit, but not much. A 358 motor I think runs stronger on a heavy racetrack, but when it slicks off, I think a 525 is a little bit better.
Okay, John?
That's where I was going with it is one of the best races I saw, and that's because Jacob was in it, but him and Kyle Lear last year at Hagerstown, I mean, it was back and forth the whole time, and Kyle would get us at the end of the straightaways, but Jake could drive so much harder in the corners. It made a very interesting race, one of my favorite of all years, and obviously I'm jaded a little bit because Jacob was in it, but it was a hell of a race between those two.
Yeah,
and you don't get a much better driver than Kyle.
Yeah.
In the 358 class, so that was fun for me to watch as an owner and a dad. But we were pretty equal cars.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you've heard all the yays and nays. Okay, we all have, and that's why we're here. And ladies and gentlemen, the point of this is obviously and I said it in the message body the other day, was to air out. Okay, it's to air out. We're not necessarily telling somebody you need to go do this tomorrow, but we're airing it out. It needs to have dialogue with it. Okay, and I kind of came down a little bit last time on promotion in certain tracks. You know what I mean? For not what would be the correct way, getting it in the rule book, incorporating it if they're going to have it. Okay, because I think sometimes obviously you look to them to set the bar for rules and regulations and tech. That's what we do, okay? So when they don't at times, guess where it comes back? It comes back into the racers, and then you get a squabble back and forth, okay? You truly do. We've seen it happen with the smallest things, components in racing, let alone full-fledged motors. So, I thought by putting this together, it would bring some education and some guidance per se of what is, and just like anything, there's all sorts of I can tell you the sky's purple out here, and I could stand on it, and some of you may think, well, Tom, you probably do believe it's purple, but I truly don't. But the bottom line is, there's a lot of things that need to be cleared up. Once again, what you choose to do is what you choose to do as a racer or a race team. And that's fair. But there's a lot of things that needs to be cleaned up. So I wanted to address this, obviously, with 2 episodes, and you guys obviously being on the second one. But then we got a fellow I was introduced to through you, John, okay? And it was Don Blackshear, okay? And I've heard the name, obviously, and I've heard a lot of good things, you know what I'm saying? And just taken out of the 525 period, if we weren't even talking about that, I've heard a lot of great things about Donald Blackshear, okay, and his intelligence and intellectualness when it comes to motors, okay. He's obviously works at Race City Performance, okay, and he's actually going to be, we're going to be calling him here in 10, 15 minutes, okay, in about 10 or 15 minutes, we're going to be getting him on here, and he's going to tell us a little bit about what's going on, you know, and kind of set maybe some of the records straight, okay, if it needs to be set straight. What do you think?
That's what I was going to say. Me personally, anything I basically do, I'm an information idiot.
Yeah.
I want to know ins, outs, questions, and with my job, I tell people don't be afraid to ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, somebody tells me that, look out, because I'm going to ask a bunch of questions.
Gotcha.
But that's before we made that final decision to jump into the 525 deal. I talked to Donald. He talked to me like we were best friends for
Yeah.
15 years.
Gotcha.
And just gave me information.
Yeah.
Not a salesman.
Yeah.
But information. That's what ultimately ended up probably making our decision
Yeah.
to kind of go that route was the maintenance, the upkeep, the rebuild. I mean, there's just a lot of factors. We are Jacobs primarily a super driver,
Correct.
but supers don't race every weekend or have
Mm-hmm.
places nearby that we can race every weekend. And we wanted something that we could be competitive and run a late model at multiple tracks.
Sure.
And we felt that was probably our best way to continue to field a super and actually field a limited.
Stop modulating.
Oh,
That Mike's jinx. I think Craig Klein had problems.
Yeah, I
with that
think
button.
Craig did too. So
Yeah.
Craig and I must
you
be.
can't hold the button down there, John. You know what
Sorry.
I'm saying? That's okay, John. We'll give you.
Did you hear my dumb explanation, Fred?
It's going now.
It's going now,
Okay,
John.
all right, sorry.
John, some of the best things you probably said were muted out. You know what I'm saying? Ain't
that-
a
my
hell of a
wife
thing?
says that a lot, too.
Exactly.
Just-
Don't you wish she had that kind of button right there to shut you down?
She wishes she had that button.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, John. I hear what you're saying 100%. You know, one thing I'm just going to skip right to the end of the line on some. I'm going to skip right to the end of the line on some. Do you, and I'm just going to ask it to both of you, do you feel that incorporating a 525 motor into local regional racing around here would be beneficial, okay, for longevity purposes, for financial purposes? Do you think that'd be beneficial to see something like that move forward? I'm skipping way ahead. All the meat and potatoes, I'm going right to the end of the line.
I think Kyle said it the last time he was here. I'm for both because so many people do have that technology with the 358s, but I did contact a local reputable motor builder and got some numbers straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Correct.
And absolutely, the 525 setup is a cheaper, easier maintained. There's a lot of easier factors to that can get other people into another class. Now, you know, the crates were there. We started in the traditional 604 crates. They're a great class, but most people, or not everybody, but a lot of people want to progress into something a little faster, a little bit different. This will give them, and the 358 was the natural step for us at one point in time. Same deal. I mean, it's just another option to go faster and compete in maybe, I don't want to say better drivers. 350, the crates class has some awesome drivers. But, when you're running a Kyle Lear, Scott Palmer,
Right.
those guys got
Tommy Cordell.
Tommy Cordell. I mean,
Thank
he
you.
was awesome when he was around.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that.
But those guys, I mean, they've run supers, they've run everything, and now they're to a place where they can run
Yeah.
competitively at a more reasonable, let's say, than the super deal. Yeah, I think it's a great for the sport.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see an outlaw a 358 motor, but I also don't want to see him outlaw the 525.
I got you.
So I think it can help grow the late model class in our area so it doesn't die completely.
Okay. Now, one fact I put out there, I've done this, Mark the Shark, you know, the historian, he's not with us now. He's a llama farmer. He's out west. He's buying llamas. That's what he does in the spare time.
Sherpa King.
He is very much a llama farmer. But anyways, Mark did statistics, and there are roughly 131 limited late models within 2 hours of this shop. 131 limited late models, okay? Now, I'm going to venture to throw it out there and say 75% of them are probably traditional 358s. Okay.
More than that, probably.
Probably more. You're right, and I'm low on that probably. But needless to say, the mother load. Okay, so you look at that and you say, okay, so how do you intermingle? Okay, that's the how do you intermingle? And I mean, how do you think you intermingle with this? How do you introduce this? What's fair? We all want to hear the fair word in racing, right? That's right. We want to hear the fair word. So how do you do that? What's your thoughts, Jacob?
I don't think the 525s are any better than limiteds, or limiteds are better than 525s. I mean, Cody Breeden won a race at Hagerstown, and Pilkerton won a race at Hagerstown. And then I run 525s. I think I've run that there 3 times, I think, maybe two or three times. And it's not like I went out and won by a straightaway. Like, I run top 5, and there was definitely better cars than me, but I think they're currently intermingled pretty well right now. I do think more people are going to get them. You'll see 525s run out more, just due to the fact that the more cars the more motors run, the more people run 525s, the odds you run up front are kind of high. It's like Longhorns right now. Longhorns are going to look like they run up front everywhere because there's a big number of Longhorns out there. And it was like Rockets 2 or 3 years ago. Everybody's winning a Rocket because there was a bunch of Rockets out there. So it's, I don't necessarily know if there's a right and wrong way to intermingle them. I think they're trying to do the best they can right now. I think.
I just don't like to say, well, let's just take them out because. And like Jacob said, there was a lot of places where they competed against each other. Not like one wasn't like the 525s dominated wherever they were. They were competitive.
Yeah.
And I think if you get to the true numbers, which Donald can sort of maybe take the numbers away and torque and horsepower and all that information, they're just not the motor that the standard 358 is.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of advantages to it, and I'd like to see them be not equal, but in a class. And you're right. People wanted to complain a little bit last time about teching. Well, we ran 358s for 4 or 5 years, and we were teched once. And that was at BAPS when we finished second to the Tornadoes' dad, and they've refused tech for a $700 to win show, and we did too. Yeah. So with our 358, so that BAPS has notoriously been though a track that will do tech.
I hear that.
But nowhere else does. No offense to anybody else, but
yeah,
I know for a fact there was a super late model motor that was an all aluminum motor was painted black so that they could run with the limited class. Fact.
Right.
But
it is what it is.
It is what it is, but that was an easy check with a magnet. But we don't check anything. So no offense to the tracks. I think Hagerstown, when we did show up the first time with the 525, they hooked it up to the box and made sure we had the chip in it, the rev limiter. That's a simple check. There's a lot of simple checks. I think you can tech my opinion. I think you can tech a sealed 525 motor significantly easier than what you can a 358
traditional motor. Freddie, what do you got? You got any comments up?
Oh, yeah, we got some good ones on.
Okay, here we go.
Rick Holtzen says the reason the microphone doesn't work, it's got yellow on it.
I understand. Rick would go with that. What else we got?
It could be operator.
John Ballingy just made a comment, though. He says the 525s. He thinks a cheaper way for people to get into racing.
Okay.
Yeah. Jimmy Jesper said it was a lot easier for his weekly maintenance running his 525.
Okay. So do you agree with that?
100%.
Jesper says it's easier maintenance.
You don't have an Oberg.
Absolutely.
You don't have, like my super stuff, or even a 358, you're checking Oberg every week. You're checking valves every week.
At least you should be.
You got an extra, like 2-3 hours in time. Not the checking valves takes that long, but if you got one off, and I'm really finicky with that stuff, it's like it takes me a while to get one set right, just because I want it to be just set just right. But a 525, you wash it, put it in the shop, make sure the battery's charged, and you got a bolt check through the week, but you don't touch the motor. Like it's easy. It's easy to work. I don't know how to really work on it much because they're kind of confusing to me, but. Like I check the computer every now and then to make sure nothing was looking way off. But you don't touch the motor.
Okay.
That was one thing that at your last show about the programmable cylinders as a form of traction control. Well, most of your 358s probably have a crank trigger, or they have a switch that you can switch to a different box.
Correct.
Same principle. I don't see that as but we were told, and this is what we did: don't fool with it. You don't know enough about it to do it. Go run it.
Yeah, just go run it.
We didn't plug it in. We didn't change a single thing at the track all year, and we probably ran a dozen or more shows with the 525 last year.
Okay. Well, no. Yeah, and I tell you once again, we're gonna be getting him on the line here, and I think that's great. We're gonna go right from the horse's mouth, right? You know what I'm saying? I think that's a win-win here to get some facts. So I'm gonna head up here and get that piece of phone and come back here. And I don't want you boys to go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? You didn't touch the button, did you?
I didn't touch any buttons, Tommy. I
Okay,
promise.
good. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have Don Blackshear himself from Race City Performance on the line here, and Don has obviously been with this program a long time, okay, since it's pulled out of NASCAR, and he's been with a lot of motors, not just 525, so he knows his way around, obviously, the motor world and such. Don, can you hear me?
Yes.
So, Don, how's things in North Carolina going? It ain't going to snow there, is it?
Not at the moment.
Okay, that's good, Don. We appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule here to call in and talk to us. Obviously, the topic of discussion, Don, is the 525 motors kind of versus the 358 steel blocks. And can you start out by giving me a little bit of background for the people on the 525 motor? Like, where did it begin and to where it is now, Don?
Well, the CT525 program with General Motors started in 2008, and it was a production line-based engine that had some component changes to adapt it into the circle track market space, and it was kind of directed toward the limited late models and the 525s. And the modifieds were 525s. It went until 2017, and then it went through a redesign. And we were involved with that with General Motors, where we upgraded some components in it, and it went to a hand-built engine at that point. And in 2019, they released the new part-numbered version engine, and it's been the same from 2019 till current.
Excellent. Okay, Don. And now you've been around, obviously, both a little bit of this and a little bit of that in the motors. You've been around these limited late model motors, all sorts of motors, correct, Don?
Yes, we have a very diverse background from 410 sprint car engines to late model open engines to drag racing to nitro engines. I mean, we're pretty knowledgeable on most all of it.
Now, Don, we talked earlier there, or last week, and I was thinking about it, and you mentioned, when this got started in certain regions and areas, a lot of the same questions and concerns, comments, they flowed up. And you've obviously watched last show we had, episode 1, and you've heard some of those comments and questions and stuff. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you're probably not hearing anything you haven't heard before, correct, in regards to this motor?
Yes, correct. I've heard pretty much every angle that you could throw at it from the built engine builders and racers and things of that nature. But, my whole concept from the beginning when I got involved with this was to basically offer a blend type engine that was more affordable and had a little bit more durability than the built stuff did and could be competitive. And that was kind of the whole mindset behind, my involvement with it. It wasn't to make a guy have to take his built engine and put it under the shelf, so to speak, and force to buy one. It was just to offer an affordable option that could blend with it, and we've done that very successful with a lot of series. Knoxville Raceway's Pro Sprint program was a built engine program, and it's now is all 525s. And a lot of the limited late model series around the country now are really seriously looking at being, 525 type exclusive. The Blue Ridge Outlaw late models that run here in the Carolinas and Virginia. This was first year that they went all 525s. And we've had over 80 different competitors compete in that series this season, and it's been very successful.
Yeah, for sure. Now, up here, obviously, we've seen 6, 8, 10. I'm going to say 10. Probably not even that many, but the Bears. Let's talk about them. Tyler Bear and them, they've been a big proponent in the Booper Bear race camp of the 525 motors, and obviously they've had success with them. And we've heard some of the ups of having these. And of course, every racer wants to ask that $1 million question is about what am I going to save by buying this, that, or a motor, or whatever it is, you know? Is there a cost savings measure? And you and I talked about that briefly the other day, and you kind of sat down and you said, you know, there's a couple different prices, you know, one or two prices, you know, models, just like anything you buy on the market, whatever you're buying out there, either the Blender A or Blender B. One's a little bit beefier than the other. And I think you guys kind of offer that too. You have two different models going there that you can get into.
Right. Yes, we at Race City Performance, we offer a base engine package, which is a completely prepped engine that's been dynoed and validated, and it has all the components that you need to install it in the race car, except for the carburetor spacer, headers, flywheel, and a remote oil filter mount. These things require a remote mount that they don't have a spin-on filter on them. And that package right now with the current GM pricing increases is just over $16,000 for that package. And you add the carburetor, spacer, and headers, and you could literally be on the racetrack using quality parts, but maybe not the high-end stuff. And you could be on the racetrack for around $18,000 to $18,500. And then if you went to what I call our premier model, which would have a billet carburetor with a Super Bowl option, the Profab stainless headers, arch temperature regulator, the Jones fan that you can remove blades and stuff on it. And that package, you end up out the door at just under $24,000. So it gives you a range. Performance-wise, the engines make pretty much the same power and torque within a few given numbers. The biggest thing the Super Bowl does is help through corners. When the car is at attitude, it keeps the fluid pressure constant on the jets and power valve channels. So it makes the car accelerate a little bit better in the corner. But as far as peak power numbers on the dyno and torque numbers, they produce the same regardless whether it's a Super Bowl or a float bowl type carburetor.
Awesome. John, what do you have?
I just was going to ask, what are the numbers on the dyno and the horsepower and the torque?
Yeah. Okay. On dynos, the dyno's a test tool, and these engines at the dyno that we utilize here to validate all of our engines on, they'll usually land within a 5 horsepower window, and they're usually on gasoline because we dyno on an ethanol-free gas. They land between 558 and 562 on power. And torque number is usually in the 492 to 496 range. It makes peak power at 6,800, and it makes peak torque at about 5,200.
Okay, excellent. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, this is Tommy Cordell from Elbows Up Dirt Productions. On Beyond the Tech Shed, Episode 2, we have John Piper, we have Jacob Piper on, and we have Don Blackshear here from Race City Performance. Been around the business a long time. Obviously, he knows these things inside and out, and we thought, man, this is the way to go, okay, to get the guy on here, and we need facts. And that was the whole point of this, was to bring facts out and to air things out. And Don, I would imagine probably in your tenure thus far with these 525s, there's been a little bit of a sell, per se, when you get into different regions. Am I correct, just like here?
Yes.
And go ahead.
Yeah, the different regions of the country that you go to, the biggest thing that I've run into in different arenas, and since our conversation last week, I pulled up the rule structure for the limited late models at 5 of the speedways that you had mentioned, and all of the rules are different at every one. So some allow aluminum cylinder heads, some don't. Some have no piston rule. Some do have a flat top piston rule. Some have valve spacing rules. Some do not. I mean, it's just so it's hard in that kind of situation to take and blend an engine that will work in all the arenas and be the same.
Yeah.
Looking at those engine combinations, you basically, at what we call the steel head lower version of the 358, you're a 600 horsepower range engine, where when you go to the steel block bandit type version that's Potomac has in their rules, now you're talking a 680 horsepower average ballpark number in power. So there's quite a bit of discrepancy between one track to the next track in that region as far as how their rules are structured. So it makes it a little tougher to try to blend an engine into that type of environment.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree in that. I think anytime you try to blend in anything, I think you're your home game has to be squared up with what you got to start with. And I've alluded to that. And, I wasn't about trying to knock on promoters. You know what I'm saying. But I guess what I'm supposed to do here in this thing is call it out, and that's what I'm doing. Is there's a lot when it comes to the rules and teching that has got to get squared up. And even if you're looking at bringing something like, the 525 motor into it, there has to be some definitive rules and definitive teching. Am I correct?
Yes. Yeah. And the 525, when we were involved with the redesign with GM, it has a very structured tech process on it that is relatively simple compared to the built motor options that are out there. Just the cubic inch of the engine is 376 cubic inches. So pumping the engine will determine cubic inch. The piston in this engine is a Mala forged piston, and it is a total flat top. There's no valve reliefs in it whatsoever. It has 10.7 to 1 static compression, which you can check with a Whistler. The camshaft that's in the engine has 307 thousandths of lobe lift, which is very easily measured with a dial indicator off the pushrod tip. The cylinder head castings, the intake manifold, there are no rotary tool marks in them whatsoever. They are an as-cast cylinder head. So it's real easy to bore scope and look at to see if someone's tried to port match or someone's tried to bowl blend, because there's no rotary tool marks anywhere in these ports on these engines. So the simplicity of teching this thing, we also have a dimension from the valve cover rail on the cylinder head to the deck of the block to verify that the cylinder head hasn't been cut out of spec. So there's a lot of things that we've learned from all the years of doing engines, crate engine 604, 602s with the Rush series, Crate Racing USA stuff back years ago. We learned from that, and when we did the redesign, involved in the redesign of this engine, we kind of brought some of that measurement stuff into play so that it gives the tech official the ability to tech this thing without having to disassemble it and without having to spend astronomical amounts of money on tools to check it. As far as the ignition system, and that seems to be the thing that everybody wants to talk about. One thing with Tyler here last year, everybody swore he had a magic switch he could flip and pick up 100 horsepower just by changing the timing map, and that doesn't exist.
Okay.
These engines, if I could figure out how to get a camshaft and a set of dome pistons through a 24 gauge wire, I probably wouldn't even be talking to you on the phone today.
I doubt we'd have this show right now, Don. I really believe we probably wouldn't even have met. Correct. Yeah.
But the engines, the cylinder head is very efficient on it, and it doesn't run a lot of ignition timing compared to, say, the built engines. But the ability to program a map is you can program the acceleration of the engine, and that's why these engines are so smooth. One of the first words out of a driver's mouth when he drives it for the first time is he says, "I can't believe how smooth it is. It follows my foot wherever I want to go with the throttle pedal." And that's one of the unique things about the LS engine platform and the ability to have a timing map that in turn will let the engine accelerate smoothly.
Yeah, definitely. Jacob, do you have anything to add to that? You've driven these things. Do you agree as far as being smooth?
It's like the first thing I said when I drove it, wasn't it? This thing's really smooth and it's easy to drive.
That was the very first thing he said. When we went, I think we went to Path Valley with it the first day, and I said, "What do you think?" He said, "Dad, this is just so smooth." That was his exact words out of his mouth. "This is smooth." And when Tyler drove it, Tyler came from super history, and he drove it first night at Hagerstown. He ended up second, but he's like, "This thing just so smooth to drive." He said, "I wish I'd have done this sooner." It was Tyler's comments when he drove it for us. So, and the two drivers that I've had, now Jace tested it at Hagerstown. I don't think we'll call that a real test of the motor, but Tyler and Jacob, first thing that Jacob said was, out of the car was, "Man, that's smooth, Dad." So, to what Donald's saying, that's exactly what the two guys I've experienced with. First things they both said to me is that's smooth.
It doesn't necessarily like a 358. You can like stand on it, it'll spin the tires. That like you stand on it and you can feel like kind of roll into the power, not just like blistered and blow the tires off like a standard 358 motor can. It's a very drivable motor,
and I believe that's why they're competitive. And no knock on any drivers, but it's easy to hit the pedal, but it's not as easy to let off the pedal to go fast type of deal. Yeah. So I think that's part of why it's attractive and part of why it's very successful.
Yeah.
One other thing back to the ignition system, we use the MSD 6014 CT controller, and that ignition controller will only hold one map, and it has provisions in it that can be regulated. So we have a little handheld tech box, and for the tracks or series that mandate a peak RPM number or they mandate a timing curve, we can program that into the little tech box, and basically you plug into a pigtail port on the ignition box, turn the ignition switch to the on position. In a matter of seconds, it comes up green or red. If it comes up green, all three parameters that we have regulated in the box are correct. If it comes up red, it will tell you which parameter is out of spec. And then, of course, if it's in pre-race tech, you can plug the laptop in and put the correct parameters in it. Or if it's after the race, then of course the competitor will be disqualified and then, penalized on that side of it. So, and it's real simple to do. So it gives us the ability with that tech tool for a track to say, okay, here's the performance parameters I want with this engine. We can limit it with the timing curve, and in turn program it and say, just for instance, say Path Valley, this was their timing map. And as long as it passed that tech, then the engine is what it is. There's no magic there. The biggest thing with all of the crate engines to enhance performance is in the fuel tank. So most everyone is on a version of E85 fuel. And you will increase torque and increase power up until it meets the peak torque where the engine's at its maximum volumetric efficiency. And then from that point on, you'll see very minor single-digit numbers from that point on to peak power. But it really helps the engine accelerate quicker because the volume of fuel that you're running through it is actually increasing the static compression, so it gives the engine more torque, and it makes it accelerate quicker. And that's the biggest thing that we do. Like all of 99% of our engine packages that leave here are all calibrated to run on E85 version fuel.
Okay, excellent.
And that fuel a lot of times is a lot more affordable than race gas. I have customers that run on, I'll just use a gas station for Sheets, 85% E85. And as long as they test it and it lands in that 84 to 86% range, it runs just as good as it does on a race fuel blended version at a more affordable cost.
Sure.
So, but that's the biggest thing that we work on is the fuel and, making the engine accelerate the best we can.
Sure. Now we're going to go to Fred here a second. We're going to see what some of the comments we have in here, Dawn, and I'll relay them over here once Fred says. Fred, what do you got going on?
Well, it doesn't look like anybody. Oh, Tyler Hurst just says, he said, can the 525 be run on alcohol?
Can the 525 be run on alcohol, Don?
Yes, it can. The Pro Sprint program we run at Knoxville is on methanol, and the Wasota engines that our 525s that run in the Wasota series up north are all on methanol.
Okay, so there you have it, Tyler. I hope that answered your question there. Jace, are you live, Jace, back there? Yeah. You ain't playing Candy Crush, are you? Okay, good. A little humor, Dawn. We like to have a little of that here, Some of the questions might not be coming up as quick sometimes on the laptop. Are you getting any questions there, Jace, in the back? No, just people commenting, though. Talk to me on the comments. Let's hear some comments.
Jimmy Jesmer said, I was checked multiple times at Hagerstown. Computer was plugged into my car and checked.
Okay, so Jimmy Jesmer, he says he was checked multiple times at Hagerstown. They plugged the computer in and checked him. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so Brian Jones, it was Hagerstown. Brian says it's easier to learn on this motor. Is that basically what he's saying, Jace? To learn walk your way around the motor. It's an easier piece to work with. You agree with that, Don?
Yeah, that's one of the big advantages to the CT525 is its weekly maintenance is basically service your air filter, and usually oil change intervals are around 4 to 5 nights of racing. It's been pretty remarkable over the years that the cards I get at Christmas from wives and girlfriends thanking me for giving them their husband or boyfriend back because he doesn't have to spend all the extra nights in the shop working on the engine. It's very user-friendly. And like I said, the maintenance side of it is just allows you to spend more time working on the race car and kind of leave the engine alone.
Yeah. What you got, John?
There's a sponsor of your show that are building cars I have a lot of respect for. I've known a lot of years. The Myerses.
Yep. TRW race cars.
Tom, talked to him, my dad, and we're friends for a long time. And one of the things Tom always says is, boys, you need to know your race cars to make them faster. This, you got to know your race car. You know what I mean? You got to know the adjustments to make. It lets you focus more on trying to figure out what to make. Now, today's cars are rocket scientists anyhow, but it lets you be more focused on making your car handle better as opposed to worrying, well, what am I doing here? What am I doing there? Yeah. And I will say, when we talked to Dawn, I thought, hey, we're going to get this great advantage by these reprogrammable or programmable cylinders. His comment to me was, go run it. Don't fool with it, go run it. And that's exactly what we did. We didn't touch the programmable all year, and I thought we were competitive every time we were out with that car.
It makes you like super stuff. You're sort of worried about, make sure everything runs all right, and oil pressure, all there's a lot could go wrong in a super. 525, I learned more about, not more, but I learned a lot about setting a car up this year and how to, because it's real, not finicky, but you can really fine comb your setup.
Yeah.
When you're not worried about your motor running right or that kind of stuff. So I got my 525 this year that I really hardly didn't change much on it, just because you can focus so much on how to make the little changes to make you faster.
Yeah.
Likewise, it doesn't come up, but on the tires, literally, I bet every race but about 2 we went to with the 525, we didn't change tires all night. We started out when we were on, to Jake.
44 right front and left rear and 48 right rear, and I ran that all night. I did that. I had that same set of tires for that car for probably 4 or 5 races.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
So it's user friendly on the rubber.
Oh, absolutely. It's
cheap. It's so much cheaper to run. The fuel's cheaper. You don't burn as much up in tires. You're not changing oil our limited motor. We were changing oil, I think, every 2 to 3 races, and you're putting 4 quarts or 4 gallons of oil in versus, I think it was 8 quarts by 525 or 8.5, something real close to that. But just in the pure amount of oil you're using, it's significantly cheaper that way too.
Yeah. Jace, what do you got back there?
Let's see here. Rick Paulson said, how many laps can you get out of it?
Okay, there you go, Don. How many laps can you get out of this thing, Don, before it goes? It would be considered she's lapped out.
Well, a lot of that depends on the maintenance of the engine with the air filter cleanliness and stuff. And but we've got engines down here in the Blue Ridge series that have over 3,500 laps on them and are still running up front and winning races. I tell most all the customers we run 1,000 laps to 1,200 laps on valve springs. A set of matched valve springs are $175, and you can change those yourself in your garage. So and getting 1,000 laps on a set of valve springs is pretty remarkable in a crate engine to begin with. But the one thing with this engine that to educate some of the engine, maybe home garage engine builders, these things have a 55 millimeter camshaft in them, and it only has 307 thousandths of load lift, and it runs a 1:7 ratio rocker. And that 525 number is the actual lift at the valve.
Okay.
So there's a lot of hot rod street cars that have more than 525 thousandths of valve lift on them. We've ran some long endurance simulations on Spintrons and on engine dynos with GM. We've ran 5,000 mile run cycles on them with using 7,400 as a peak RPM number. And we had less than 1% of valve spring pressure loss at the end of our run cycles. So it's very easy on the valve train with this engine, which of course just adds affordability and durability to it for the end consumer.
Sure. Okay. Wow.
Now, on the rebuild side of it, that's what everybody says. Well, what do we do about a repair or rebuild on it? I manage the repair program for Dirt Car and World Racing Group for all the crate engines and the UMP program out in the Midwest. And the DC-18 is actually the 525 that we developed for Dirt Car back in 2018 for the UMP Modifieds. So Dirt Car, we have repair facilities around the country. There's a lot in New York, New Jersey. We've got them out in the Midwest. So there's a repair program for the engine. Of course, we do them here at Race City Performance. There's builders down in our region. Steve Hendren at Hendren Racing Engines is a repair facility for it. Gerald Bentz Racing Engines in South Carolina. Mark Shirey Racing Engines down in South Carolina are all approved builders that are authorized to do repairs on the engines. We have a Mala direct replacement 5-over piston and a 10-over piston. And everybody says, oh, they're letting the bore size get big. Well, you're basically going from 376 to 378 cubic inch when you go to 10 over. So, and when you go to 10 over, when you increase the bore size, that adds more pore volume into the combustion chamber. So in turn, your static compression number decreases just a little bit. So there's no performance enhancement to go to the 10 over piston. And the reason why we developed this repair program for it and had the oversized piston is this is a cast aluminum block, and the sleeves are actually cast in the block at the foundry when the block is cast. So everything kind of moves and settles around in them. So most of the time we can do 1 to 2 rebuilds without having to go to the oversize. So once everything settles in and runs. So, but Mala was real good with creating a direct replacement piston. So there's no rebalance needed of the crankshaft. It's basically a plug and play piston. All the other components in the engine are GMOE, valves, valve springs, lifters, things of that nature. So it still uses all GM components as far as any of the other rebuilds. Rebuild cost on them range from $5,000 to $6,000, depending on if it needs pistons or not. So that's what your rebuild cost would be. Most of our guys are on 50 to 70 races, and we do the first rebuild, and then they will go another duration of time. And most of the guys, by the time you get to that, I refer to things as run cycle parts, because on the next rebuild, it's probably going to need connecting rods. It's probably going to need lifters. It possibly could need rocker arms, depending on the maintenance side of it. So what I recommend doing is going through the rebuild cycle, racing a season, and then sell it off to, a team that's getting started or someone wanting to come in, and then do a new one and go all over again. So when you're looking at 3 to 4 years of racing without having to, really do anything with the engine, that's remarkable. And in the built engine world, you really don't see that type of life cycle in them. Some engines maybe, but on the ones that are what I call on the ragged edge, it won't make it that far without going into. Most of them are on a 1,200 to 1,500 lap rebuild cycle. And a lot of that has to do with the RPM that those engines turn. We're trapped. All my engines leave here with the limiter set at 7,500 RPM. The engine makes peak power at 68. I tell the customer try to run it between 73 and 74 is where it performs the best at. Well, in the built engine world, R358s are 8,500, 8,600 RPM they're running. So, of course, they're going to be a lot harder on valve train, and, the wear is going to be more excessive in them due to the high RPM.
Yeah, for sure. No, you're right. She's screaming wide open with that 358 alcohol. There's no doubt about it. Freddie, what do you got up there? Do you got anything in?
I think Tyler Horse got his question answered there. He wanted to know about the rebuild process. Tyler also mentions basically the same thing a lot of everybody else is saying. Everybody on these tracks has got to get together on the same rules. And he just mentioned that Dog Hollow's not allowing 525s.
Okay, so Dog Hollow's they're not going to allow them. Okay, Jace, what do you got? Well, Jace is up there playing tic-tac-toe on his smartphone. Go ahead, Don.
When you look at the tracks that are now, they've allowed them to run, now they're not going to allow them to run. So let's just say apples to apples here. Right. You take a customer here racing a 525 and say he has a failure. Something happens internally in the engine and it's catastrophic. He can go home, he can pick up the phone, he can call me, GM dealer, another shop, whatever. Go to the dealer or call me. I can ship them an engine. They can bolt their accessories on it, and next weekend they're back on the racetrack. You have that same issue happen with a built engine, and you might be done for a month to 6 months.
Yeah.
When the racetrack looks at it and says, well, okay, I've limited this engine from participating, the most affordable and economical to operate, the most user-friendly engine, and now I've got racers having engine problems, and the local engine shops most of them do multiple things. They're not strictly 358 engine builders. So they've got other work that comes in. So now the racer's going to be down for multiple weeks, or who knows how long.
For sure.
Before he can get back to the racetrack. So now a class that had, 16 to 24 cars or whatever, now it starts dwindling down where you have 10 or 12 cars because people have broken engines and they can't get them repaired in a timely manner. And sometimes there's financial reasons they can't get them repaired quick enough, but still it gives them that option, you know, because these engines, I could show you thousands of dyno runs where these things just lay numbers on top of each other. And like here, we have a 5 horsepower window. It lands within that window or you're never going to see it. And out of the last probably 4 years that we've been operating here in Mooresville, I've had 3 engines that we have basically sent back to GM that had an issue.
Okay.
And the reason why the thing is this good and this consistent is because these are hand-built engines. They are not production line engines anymore. When 2019 happened, everything went to hand-built. There's a strict build program for it as far as tolerances and clearances and things. And it's a hand-built engine, and we don't see issues out of them. I mean, they're very, very consistent.
Yeah, so you take that Pickle Factory product line, you know, shipping one stage to the next stage to the next stage, and you put a little bit of handwork to it with people, you get a whole different product there, obviously.
Right, exactly. And it's like the 602, 604 stuff. You go back 15 years ago or 10 years ago, and the deck heights were really tall, the combustion chambers were really big, and so when you did a rebuild on an engine and you put it at the specs per the technical manual, the engine would pick up 10, 12, 15 horsepower. Well, in today's version, the blocks are CNC'd machine. Very seldom can you even skim the deck on most of them. They're so close to the minimum. The combustion chambers and the cylinder heads are close to the minimum. So it pretty much is performing at its maximum efficiency the way it comes from GM. Now, a lot of customers want someone that they know personally to take it apart, go through, check all the clearances in it, and put it back together. It's their peace of mind because it is a major investment. You know, in any of these engines is a major investment for a lot of people. And so by having the engine shop go through and basically check all the clearances in it and reassemble it, and then it would get a series seal, whether it's Rush or Crate Racing USA or Dirt Car, issued to it, and it's per the GM technical manual. The 525 has that same GM technical manual. It gives you all the specifications, the deck height, the bore size, the cylinder head thickness, camshaft, ring-in gap. I mean, all of this stuff is structured in a technical manual.
Sure.
So it's for a track. I mean, it's their business. They can do whatever they want. But if I've got a more affordable option that's competitive, that will run, has good durability to it, and will run duration without having problems, I'm all about having more customers at my racetrack.
Well,
You know,
yeah.
And you have the ability to adjust weights around if one has an advantage over the other one. And you can trap it RPM. You can trap it with a timing map, however you need to blend it with your, you know, current car. But don't discriminate against it because it is the most affordable option to have in a limited late model is the 525.
Sure.
When you're building new engine to new engine, now there's used engines floating all over the place that you could buy, you know, more economical, but you're buying something that you really don't know anything about. You know, you're taking a gamble with it. But when you do new to new, the 525 is the most logical, the affordable, and the, you know, can be competitive in that environment over the built motor.
Sure. Okay. Sure. Well, we're going to take 5 seconds for station identification. Once again, if you're tuning in, this is Tom McCardell from Elbows Up Dirt Productions. We're here live on Studio O2, brought to you by Chaz's Used Auto Parts for Beyond the Tech Shed episode number 2. Brought to you by its wonderful sponsors, TB's Auto Body in Shippensburg, Pennsylvania, and Cannon Powder Coating in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. We're here live on the set with Jacob Piper, John Piper, and on the phone is Don Blackshear. We appreciate y'all tuning in, bringing the comments and questions. Jace, what do you got? You got another question for me?
Rich Burns said he's on the second year with 525. He loves the zero issues. Tom Gunner asked what type of oil is used in the 525.
Tom Gummer. Okay, Tom Gummer's tuning in. He asked what type of oil is used recommended in the 525 motor.
Okay, on the engines that were produced prior to 2019, the bearing clearances in those are in a production type environment. So we run a lighter viscosity oil in those, and most of those are on either a 1030 or a 1040 weight motor oil. The engines from 2019 and newer because the clearances have been opened up in them a little bit in certain areas. We recommend nothing lighter than a 1550 viscosity oil. You can run petroleum-based oil in them, but we recommend the synthetic. We recommend either Maxima or Mobil 1 is what we use here at the shop in our engines. But there's a lot of great oil companies out there, and I tell customers, if you have a relationship with a quality, oil company that has a very good product, as long as the viscosity in our engines, we recommend nothing lighter than a 1550.
Okay, excellent. There you go, Tom Gummer. Jace, what do you got?
Gerald Davis asked, do they make Ford in the 525?
Gerald Davis asked if they make a Ford motor and a 525.
Ford does have a engine option that is built to blend with the 525. We've had a couple of them come when the late model series down here still allowed different engine options in it. We had a few come run with us, and they were competitive. They were just a little bit heavier because they were a steel block version instead of aluminum block version. But the Ford does have an engine that they've constructed, and it has a lot of aftermarket parts in it to compete with the 525, but it's never really, taken hold and went anywhere with it.
Sure, gotcha. Always good to hear Gerald Davis. That's right. The Mountaineer man tune in here on the show tonight. What do you got, Jace?
Jimmy Jester just said we run 2050 in ours, but that's all.
Okay, Freddie?
That's about it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So I tell you what, John, what do you look like you want to say something? You're eating the microphone.
Yeah, Fred said that they were going to outlaw them at Dog Hollow. That I'm aware of, there wasn't a single 525 won a race at Dog Hollow, and they promote as home track rules to run at their track. So how could maybe it's not true. I mean, it could be hearsay. But why would a track decide to take them out when they don't really have their own track rules when they say home track rules? I don't understand that, but
Right.
That's for other tracks to decide and discuss. But again, I'm just curious why they would say that.
Yeah. It's a valid point. Yeah, you're exactly right. It's a valid point. From I've seen a 525 victorious run at Dog Hollow.
There's only been like one locally. There were two. I guess there's been Cody Breeden won, Pilkington won both at Hagerstown, and then Kyle Hardy won at Winchester and Port Royal with one. And other than that, I don't know if
I think Pilkington won once at
Potomac. He might have won
Potomac.
once at Potomac, but I mean,
Dillinger may have won at Dog Hollow. May have in a 525, but I don't know. But Dillinger's running them. He's running them kind of all over and being successful with them.
Yeah, Dillinger was actually to be tuned in tonight. He's tuned in?
Tuned in, yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, he talked with me there earlier last week and said he was tuned in last time as well.
But to that effect, Tommy, too, Dillinger won one of the Elkins Super Late Model races with the 525, straight 525. And if you've ever been to Elkins, it's kind of slow and slick, and it was the perfect scenario. And I think he started up front, but he still won the race with a straight 525. And then we ran our 525 with the super race at Path Valley, and we're fourth.
I got beat by my other car.
Team car beat Jacob.
I run second most of the race in my supercar, and then my tire sealed over, and I see my cousin drive by in a 525. I'm thinking, damn, I just got passed by my own other car.
You did, Jacob. You
We
actually
lightened
did.
up. We took all the weight off of it. And
Yeah.
so it wasn't like it was. They're just, I guess, they're so smooth compared to, and the Path Valley is a quarter-mile racetrack. We put one 250 or 150 restrictors in our super motor, so we cut it way back, sort of to fit the driving style, and then the 525 is just so smooth. I guess that's why. But I think they're a very economical motor if you want to maybe venture into like a small. Obviously, you're going to knock around a big track with a super 525, but a smaller racetrack. If you take all the weight off and lighten it up, you're going to be pretty competitive running supers too. So it's,
we see Kenny Moreland. He's banked in several wins.
Last year we were running the deal with Jim with the fall clash, and we ended up with some motor problems with our super motor, and we had to take a last minute change to run. We went to Action Track. We're thinking, hey, we're right in the ball game there. We're a small track. Our little motor's going to be fine. Well, they had it like a plowed field, watered fast, and our little motor got ate alive there that night. So, people, it's the right situation and the right track, but the super motor just killed us. We were just outgunned big time because they were, Trevor and those guys had their big super motors, and we had our little 525, and we were expecting it to be slow and slick, and it was not slow and
No,
slick.
it
It was
wasn't.
hammered down, get on her, boys, and we just were outmotored that night.
Now, Don, I wanted to ask you, in your area right there, obviously the 525s in that southern belt, they're premier for motors. Now, do you see a lot of limiteds that are also in the 358 traditional steel blocks down around that area?
Yeah, there's still a lot of them over what I call on the coastline over there that run, they call it the steel block, what's left of the steel block bandit rules or the I-95 rules.
Okay.
Just a few weeks ago at Lakeview Speedway in South Carolina, the promoter down there, Scott Tripp and Jason Smoot, the director of the Blue Ridge Outlaw Late Models, put a grudge race on where the Blue Ridge cars raced against the basically I-95 steel block bandit cars. And the Blue Ridge cars are all on American Racer tires, where the track version late model that allows the built motor, they were on a Hoosier tire. Mm-hmm. And Willie Milliken was actually driving a 525 car, and he ran as high as second with it. In our quick 8 shootout, which we take the top 8 qualifiers, 4 out of Group A and 4 out of Group B, it was split with between 525s and built 358s. Michael Roush ended up winning the race with his, and it was pretty much a who's who. A couple of the what I call star players out of the Blue Ridge program had issues and dropped out. But they were competitive with one another, and especially when the track slowed down, the 525s really started shining, and that's their wheelhouse. When the place gets slick, they're very drivable. The Pipers are saying how easier are they on tires compared to the built motor version stuff. And that has to do with the gearing and RPM that the built motors have. They're really got a lot of wheel speed, where the 525 is more of a controlled wheel speed. They're competitive environments. Tyler Bear has run our stuff for years now, and he has one of our 358s, and he has 525s, and he's back to back. And there's tracks that we've run basically when it's a big track where it's sustained RPM, he would run the built motor. Because the advantage of turning 8,800 RPM versus 7,500, where when it got to a 3/8 mile track or a slicker track, he ran 525 because it would outrun the 358 because of the drivability. So, but Tyler and Booper and all of them are a big proponent of it. You go to Natural Bridge Speedway there in Virginia, which is, I call it the ice skating rink of dirt. Because it gets so slick there,
Right.
but you'll have over half the field there is all 525s.
Okay.
And Justin Williams and Logan Roberson. You even talk about big track stuff. Last year, Logan during the Pittsburgher took his 604 crate car up there to race with the Rush Series. And he told me, he says, I'm going to take my 525 and see if I can make the Lucas Oil race. Well, he made the Lucas Oil race, and I think he ran as high as 12th or 13th, and he ended up 15th in the Lucas Oil race at Pittsburgh, which is a big 5/8 mile track.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So, but there again, it has to get into that situation where the track can't use the brute power, and that's when the 525 shines with its drivability.
Yeah, definitely. Jace, what do you got?
Devin Bishop says, what is Don's post-race tech procedure?
Okay, Devin Bishop asked Don, what is your post-race tech procedure?
Well, a lot of that has to do with the tracker series, what their guidelines are. But like with the series races, they'll pump it for cubic inch. We have a whistler where we can whistle the cylinder to make sure that the static compression is like it should be. All of the engines that leave here, the new engines have the factory GM seals still on them because we don't go inside of them. And then they also have our secondary seal program on them. And we document it, we profile the cam, we whistle the cylinders for static compression, so we have that for reference during tech. They check valve springs, installed height, things of that nature, and inspect seals. Is pretty much the extension. Sometimes they'll bore scope it to look down in the intake and, things of that nature, and maybe pull the header and look in the exhaust port. But that's pretty much the normal tech. If there's teching to be done with the ignition box, plug the laptop in if the series has a spec map or RPM limit. When you plug into the laptop, you can see the entire timing curve to make sure that the curve matches exactly and make sure that there's no points in it to where it is holding the RPM. That's something everybody says, well, traction control. Me personally, it's hard to understand when you have a race car that is designed to have an 800 to 900 horsepower engine in it, and you take and put a 550 to 600 horsepower engine in it, and we have to run traction control. A lot of people is like, well, we can have traction control. And I'm like, well, why would you need that on a car that's designed to, traction up 900 horsepower? But the ignition controllers from MSD, the boxes are what we refer to as potted. There is a full resin that's poured in the circuit board. So when you take the back off the ignition box, you can't see any circuitry. All you can see is a black potting. And to get into any of the circuits to try to modify it or piggyback it, a lot of the companies that offer traction control can get in there. But if you just take the rear cover off the box and look, you can visibly see it. There's no way to hide it.
Yeah, right.
But that's pretty much the tech side of it. Per track rules or basically a series rules. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The one thing we haven't discussed is static weight of the engine.
Okay, that's better. Yes.
All right. These engines, depending on a couple of options, depending on what you have for carburetors, whether it's a billet, whether it's a cast aluminum carburetor, whether you have an alternator or not, you're going to land between 380 and 395 pounds. That's with 7 quarts of oil in it, and that's with the engine filled with water, just like it was set in the race car.
Okay.
So you look at a Dart SHP block and a set of standard Rodex Track 123-degree cylinder heads. You assemble that engine, and basically the 525 is going to be around 80 pounds lighter in static weight.
Okay.
Now, the high-end 358s, like the ones we've done out of here, the blocks all CNC lightened, the cylinder heads are CNC lightened, the manifolds lightened, aluminum bolts everywhere where it's a non-stress area. I mean, when you're building a $25,000, $30,000 engine, he's getting his money's worth when it comes to that side of it. Lightweight cranks, things of that nature. The 358s that come out of here usually weigh around 410 to 414 pounds. So I'm basically within 20 pounds of what a 525 weighs.
Okay.
Yet the engine makes 100 more horsepower and it'll turn 1,000 more RPM than what the 525. So me personally, I don't see any reason to have to bolt weight on an engine that is down on power, down on RPM compared to what the option you have. Now, some of the rules that I looked at the tracks in your region don't allow that type of engine. So that's where the disparity's at that maybe we'll need some adjusting and tweaking on if the tracks can't all get on the same page to where everybody has like a blanket set of rules for this, for the 358 and for the 525. Which if they would do that, it would make things a lot easier for the racer to run one or the other.
Yeah, 100%. I think that I've beat that drum several episodes of, and it's not just with engines, it's with everything. You know what I mean? There has to be some uniformity. I want to be able, to go run another track. If my track's not running that weekend and I want to journey there, that's my home track. I'm going to come back the following week. But you know what? If I want to go to track B, so be it. I think it would benefit everybody, the racer, the track itself, and the fans, because you got a better car count. It's a no-brainer to me. What do you think, John?
Fans, I mean, I've been a fan my entire life. And at Hagerstown, and that was my home track, but when like Lynn Geisler or Denny Chamberlain or somebody out of town came in, that's a pretty big deal. That was fun to have somebody else come in, another racer, a quality racer, come in and race your guys and just see somebody else different. And that's why we sort of wanted to stay with a second car with a limited motor or whatever you want to call it. So we had more options, but now I'm not sure we're going to have more options, but
right.
I'm not sure what to do.
Yeah, no, I understand. I've heard chatter out there from several teams that are a little bit of here, a little bit of there, from track to track, that are really, investigated, engaged themselves into looking to buying a 525.
I've personally, through this year, been approached by at least half a dozen different owners, teams, drivers. Hey, what do you think? Mm-hmm. What's the maintenance? What's the cost? And I just be honest, that for what we do for a second car, it's a no brainer for us.
Yeah, 100%. Jace, you got anything up there for me? Okay, so
To run with the supers.
okay, so Braden won. Okay, but they let a 12-inch spoiler to run with the supers, and that's Dillinger put that through. Okay. Okay, Tyler Bear did the same thing in 2024 for the exact same race. He just increased his spoiler size, correct? Is that what we're getting at? To run with the supers then. Okay. Fred, you got anything?
Yeah, pretty much the gist of most of all the comments tonight is getting on an equal plane.
Yeah,
field.
right.
The racers just want to know where they can go.
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, like I continue to go back on this, and I call it the big wheel. And, you know, if a piece of the wheel breaks, it all slows down. And there's a lot of components on that wheel with this racing stuff. I've been around it a lot of years, just like you have, John and Don and such. And, you know, I look at things, promoters, I look at officials, I look at racers, I look at fans, I look from I said the guy that runs the hot dog shack at the concession. It takes an army. And you know, I hate to do this, but we compare to sprint cars. I got to be honest. We're fender loving people, and we'll attend them sprint cars. I will if there's
nothing else to do.
I understand, correct, but and we'll cuss and get jealous and envy and with them sprint cars, but something's getting done right. Okay, something's getting done right in that area, and I don't care. A promoter can get mad for me saying that. That's not a sprint car track, but something's getting done right. It's time that the heads come out of the asses, and I'm just going to call it point blank. It has to happen, because when the racers don't show up, the fans don't show up, and when the fans don't show up, the track gate's locked.
And not everybody can run sprint cars.
And not everybody can run sprint cars.
Or want to run sprint
Or
cars.
want to run sprint cars. Thank you, Jacob Piper, for that. But I'm just calling it like it is. I love racing. I love it. I dearly love it, just like many, many people tuned in tonight all around. And I want to see it. When I say racing, I mean in our sector, Fender race cars. And I don't want to see it fall to the wayside. And it gets more difficult every year to hear the closings, the reductions in classes, the reduction in cars that are running. It's crazy. You know, we have to make a change. And that change needs to start. I've called for this several times, and this is my rant. Dawn, this is my rant. I apologize.
No problem.
He said no problem, you know. I like Don. He said no problem. But, you know, the bottom line is we have got to come together as drivers and promoters. It has to happen. They say there's always going to be all these workshops of promoters and drivers, and I got to be honest, I never see them come to fruition.
That sounds like a really good show for Bottom Line, to get 5 or 6 promoters, set them down at a table, and let's talk about it.
I agree 100%. I have even kicked around, and I'm just going to put it out in the air. And a lot of people, several people, notable people, has asked me about this, and they knew I talked about it at one time of having a council in this region. Okay, a council, and it would be made up obviously of drivers and owners. Okay, and there has to be a voice. There has to. Bottom line. Jace, what do you got? Give me a Tylenol. Dawn, I tell you what, you know, it's getting ready to snow here tonight. They're calling, you know, we're going to digress here, but I'm sure you're not facing any snow, but boy, we're going to get blasted up here. They said here about 3 o'clock tomorrow morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I used to be in western Pennsylvania and eastern Ohio up there, and I used to dread this time of year because you never knew what was coming over the horizon there. But the thing is, you talk about promoters and whatnot. Every year at PRI there in Indy, Tom Deary and Larry Kemp and a bunch of the executives that used to be with Dirt Car and different things have all the promoters workshops. And we actually do a seminar on Saturday from 10 to 2 on the GM crate engines. And we discuss the 602, 604, and the 525. And I have different engine builders that are part of the crate programs there with us, and usually have a representative with GM. And we discuss all this as far as the engines, the durability, what we're seeing, where the trends are headed in different parts of the country. And right now, the 525 is going in so many different venues the International Hot Rod Association, which is big in drag racing, and I was fortunate enough to win national events when we drag raced with them. They've now started a pavement late model series that's going to compete around the country with a gracious purse structure and points fund for it. And they have the 525 as an engine option in that class, and the limited late model stuff on pavement. Late model stocks. And so the thing is growing and going in different spaces, and it's all due to its performance to be competitive, its durability, and then its affordability, because they understand that when a racer walks in and he buys this engine and he goes and puts it in his race car, it's making the same power as the guy that's parked right beside him. So now it comes back to talent and ability is why you succeed in this. And I have guys that come here that come out of supercars and come down and run limited late models, and they tell me, it's like, man, I have never had to drive this hard in my life
Right.
to win, because you have to be up on the wheel, just like driving a 604 late model or 602 late model. You have to drive at 100% every time you're on the racetrack, because if you don't, somebody else is, and they pass you, and you can't make it back up unless
correct.
they mess up.
Yeah.
So a lot of them come race this, and then they go back and get in their open modified or their supercar, and they're like, all of a sudden now they're running 3 or 4 spots higher up than they normally did in the past. And it's all from their having to race on the, maximum of, drivability every lap.
Yeah.
Makes
No.
them better race car drivers.
100%. John, what do you got?
That was my opinion, one of the most successful series that we have perhaps in the country is the Rush Series. And that's because of their tech. Vicky does a great job, and their crew does a great job at that. We started there because, and I'm flat out, I'm not a motor guy. I don't know how to work on them. I don't know how to maintain them. I mean, you can change oil, that stuff. But that's why we started in the crate deal, was because my kid's dad wasn't a motor guy.
Yeah,
This was a way that
feasible.
Correct. This was a way I could go racing with my kids and know that I'm not going to get beat by somebody that knows how to work on a motor better. I'm a fairly, people might debate that, but I'm a fairly intelligent person that can figure things out, the setup of the car and working with that. I could do that, but that was never my cup of tea. That's something with this 525 deal. It's another avenue with the proper sort of lines in order. I think it makes for a logical, and I'm all for the existing 358s. I don't want anybody to get rid of their stuff, but there comes a time when you have to rebuild it, and it's time to maybe we did this with our buy a new block, the whole rebuild deal. It just made more sense. Well, we did it. We got it to race, but then longevity just made more sense for what we're doing as a team. This is a much better second option for us.
Yeah, no, I follow you there. Jacob?
You can focus more. Your races are won by maintenance and knowing how to work on a race.
The one in the garage.
If you don't have to work
Right,
on your motor,
there you go.
you can work on making sure your
Yeah.
rods are good. Your bearings are you're not got play and everything. I mean, all your stuff is working together. You're not really worried about your motor. You're sort of checking your front end every week, checking your bird cages every week, because all the little stuff that you get a bind in one thing, you could be fighting that all year. Well, if you're worried about your motor too, you might spend 3 or 4 hours working on a built motor and not have time to work on the other stuff. Just not everybody has a full-time crew guy.
Yeah.
90% of the racers are just your local guys.
Well, it's blue-collar racing. That's what I call it. It's blue-collar racing, bottom line. We all go to work.
Or own their own business that
Yeah.
they might not get home till 6, 7 at night and then want to eat dinner, and by the time you get done, it's 8, 9 o'clock. Sometimes you don't want to go to the shop and spend
Right.
2-3 hours working on the motor.
Yeah. No, I get that. Jace, what do you got?
I got a couple.
Jace, fire away, Jace.
Rick Olson said, I bought one. Richard Burns Jr. says, have a series that incorporates a level affordable field of cars. Brandon Bard said, if you take 5 local tracks in our area and compare their rules for 358s, none of them are the same. So how do you add another engine in the mix where we can't even get the rules the same for one engine style?
Okay, so put the brakes on. Brandon Bard brings up a point that we've been saying, right? You got several tracks, I believe 5, just like Don had said he researched, that have multiple versions of different rules. They're so far off from one another. So there's no conformity there. And Brandon Bard's concern is, how do you bring another class in if you don't have a baseline for what rules you have now?
It's not another class. It's another motor in the same class.
Well, I'm sorry, and I may have referred. Did he say class or Same, whatever. But okay, bottom line is, how do you bring that in? Okay, so no, I agree. So it calls to do something like this. I think, and Dawn, you chime in here. I think there's work that needs to be done on several different fronts with rules. Period for 358s. Let's face it. I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't hear anyone saying, as of yet, that let's bring the 525s in April of next year, and there will be no 358s. I'm not hearing that. Am I correct?
You just can't do that. You can't do that. You're going to eliminate your class.
Correct.
And it would be easy to add another motor because the 525 is a sealed motor. There's a guidelines, like he said, the GM gives you to check and tech everything. That would probably be one of the easiest motors to add to 5 racetracks. Because even when we had our limited motors, you try to make your motor as legal as you can for the majority of the racetracks. And there's some you might not be able to run, or some that you're going to get beat by motor. If you put a 525 in 10 racetracks, the rules are going to be the exact same because they're a sealed motor and they have to be the exact same.
I see what you're saying. Obviously, you can't go around that.
And I'm a numbers guy. The numbers that Dawn can provide on torque, horsepower, all those are numbers. And those numbers on the motors are not that far apart that you can say a 525 is an advantage in any way you look at it over a current 358 motor that we have around here.
Gotcha.
So, okay, it may not be specifically that in the rules, but your numbers, your motor numbers, your torque numbers, your horsepower numbers are such that I think consistently the 525 is going to be at a lower numbers.
Yeah.
That they're. I'm not sure why you wouldn't allow those
Gotcha.
in that same class when there's no horsepower, no torque, there's no real motor advantage to having a 525.
Besides weight.
Gotcha. Jace, what else you got?
Randy Burkholder said, how hard is it for the track to check the seals and the MSD boxes on 525 engines? Is it something that can be done easily so the tracks can tech it in a couple minutes?
Okay, so Dawn, Randy Burkholder asked about tech, and once again, is that literally to plug that in on the box? You're talking minutes, correct?
Yeah. In less than 5 minutes, you can do the inspection as far as seals and as far as the ignition box programming. And the thing is, on the ignition box programming, if the track has to have, or the series, or whoever's going to be the governing body on the rules, they would have to have guidelines. When Hagerstown wanted the 525 for this year, they called me and they were like, how can we police this? And I said, well, the first thing you need to do is just trap the RPM. So that's why when they plug into the box, and I sent them a thumb drive and USB cable to where they physically do it with a laptop, plug in a matter of seconds, it opens up and they can actually see the timing map and they can see the RPM cycle through the whole of the engine to make sure that the limiter wasn't tampered with. Now, some of the tracks have gone to a maximum timing number, but to where they don't care what the curve is as long as it's not over this set number. Most of them are like 30 degrees.
Okay.
They look at the timing map and say, okay, the timing map and it'll show you the map from the initial first revolution of the crankshaft to it hits the rev limiter. And as long as it's not over that number, then it's fine.
Gotcha.
That's their way to police it, with not allowing someone to put more timing in the engine to try to help, their burn more fuel, things of that nature affect the performance. So they just give it 7,500 maximum RPM and 30 degrees of timing. And that's it. And it's simple to check. And the thing is, when we do our seminars and stuff at PRI and stuff, we talk about all that. We educate the tech officials because that's what those meetings are for track officials, promoters, owners, and tech officials and engine builders. So it's free to anybody that's there at PRI that has a badge to get in PRI. They can come in there.
Okay.
So, and we talk about that. And I've got a panel that I have, and I alternate them in and out every year from different parts of the country that are some of the leading engine builders in the country that also do crates. So we discuss it, and it's an open forum question answer deal, kind of like we're doing tonight here.
Yeah.
But usually we have 90 to 100 people in this room.
Sure.
And they come with all different kind of questions of what they're seeing in their region of the country, because every region's a little bit different. There's not a blanket set of rules. It would be amazing if we had a Lucas or a World Outlaw type rule structure to where it was the same all over the country.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
Steel head, whether you were an aluminum head, whether you were a 525, everybody was on a platform to where all the rules were the same. But that's in a more of a perfect world we don't live in.
Yeah, I know. I call it the New World Order, Don. The New World Order of limiteds. Go ahead, John.
Just a question for Dawn, and to follow up on what Randy said. What would it cost a track to have? I mean, it's simple. It's a red or green, pass or fail. So it wouldn't take a real genius to see red or green. You just can't be colorblind. But what would it?
Yeah, the tech tool is just under $200 for the tech tool, but for it to work in that environment, they would have to have guidelines, an RPM limit that would have to be used at that track, or a specific timing number that would have to be used at that track, because I program it specifically, and that's the only program it recognizes in there. So if you just said that it was 30 degrees maximum timing, okay, and at one point it was 30.1 degrees, a tenth of a degree, it'll pick that up right away and flag it. It has to be perfect. That's why when we set this stuff up, it's basically give it a number and give it an RPM. So it's relatively simple to tech it.
Okay.
So it's an economical number to a track. You spend $200 and you gain 4 more cars a night. You pay for it in the first night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and the thing is, here's another avenue for the track. If they don't want to go that route, I have thumb drives that I donate and a USB cable that I donate to racetracks. Free. There you go. Download the software into your laptop, because everybody at the racetrack, somebody's got a laptop. Just plug it in, it downloads, and then you physically see the numbers right in front of you on the monitor.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That cost them nothing.
There you go. Okay.
I mean, I've got it to where, I don't know where you're going to find a better deal than that. And I'm accessible, as the Fibers will tell you. They can call me all times, night or day, and I answer the phone. And that's part with the Dirt Car World Racing Group. We have, there's over 1,200 sportsman cars that run 602s up north, and then you have the pro stocks, and then we have the Midwest stuff. I mean, there's times on weekends I get calls at 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning in tech sheds when stuff's got tech issues and they're needing information. And, we provide them with the data they need off of certain engines, and away they go. So, it takes the track wanting to make their business model better by allowing a package to run that's more affordable, it's more user-friendly, and it's competitive. That was the one thing with the Knoxville program when we started that in 2016 was the first year with that. My little sales pitch for it was, I said, we're at in this country, especially in sprint car world, can you buy an engine and roll into the gate at Knoxville Raceway in Iowa, the premier sprint car track in the world, and contend to win the first night you race the car, because you have the same engine as the next guy.
Right. Okay.
Nowhere else you can do this in that environment. In the limited late model world, if the rules are structured correctly, you can pull in with your 358 and you can pull in with your 525, whether it's a steel head or aluminum head. If the rules are structured correctly, they race around there like they're tied together.
Okay. Well, I hear you. I hope, obviously, tonight we've had some good feedback here on commentary, and from Jace there and Freddie. We've had some good commentary discussion here from Jacob and John, and Dawn. You've been a plethora of information, and I greatly appreciate that. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to give John and Jacob and yourself, Dawn. I'm going to give you 30 seconds, a minute here, and close out in conclusion. What's your last thoughts, John? Tell the people here.
Kyle Lear said it last time. I'm for running them all together. I think the numbers don't lie as far as horsepower, torque. The 525 is not as stout, let's say, on the numbers, but it's more drivable, so it equals itself out. If it's not a clear and distinct advantage either way, let them run together and have more cars, make it more affordable for more people, and keep the late model full fendered stuff alive and live and kicking in our area. And then maybe that helps. Maybe eventually that helps for the super stuff too. I don't know, but I'm a late model guy through and through, and I don't think there's a reason why, based upon the numbers that we've been provided tonight and from other folks, that they shouldn't be allowed to run together. Okay. And I don't want to see many people out there with their 358. I don't want to see them have to give it up. But
Right.
when it comes time, it's
To
not
intermingle.
It's not feasible to rebuild, and
Correct.
you've got a cheaper option.
Keeps you on the racetrack.
Keeps you on the racetrack. Get you, and we're dumb racers. We'll spend it on something else.
Well, yeah, right.
But it gives us an option to do it.
Yeah, I get what you're
And
saying.
Like I said, some of the concerns the last time was, there's nobody local. Well, for a fact, there's a couple local motor builder, or at least one, that's looking into becoming a distributor or,
Yeah.
or whatever you would
Okay.
call that, certified rebuilder. Guaranteed, they're looking into that. He's a reputable guy, but it's an economy. If there's a need, somebody will fill that need eventually.
Yeah. You're right.
So
Okay.
I'm for both. I don't want to see. I mean, obviously, because I'm got a vested interest because I got a 525, but I'm for having both run together until you see. And like Donald said, unless something happens that Jake is out and wins every limited race, okay, then we got to do something.
Right.
It'd be fun for us, but not fun for everybody else. But likewise, when have they teched a 358?
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. No offense to any of the tracks, but they're not pulling them in. When I grew up, when my uncle raced limiteds, you would spend nights in the tech shed.
Oh yeah,
With
100%.
Nathan or Brent or,
Yeah.
or Ernie, you would spend nights in the tech
Oh,
shed
yeah.
because they're tearing you down.
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore. So
No, I really don't see that happen too often.
my 2 cents worth. Let everybody race together, come up with a common sense set of standards for the 525, and Dawn's given us information that it's pretty simple to incorporate them with a little bit investment from the tracks to make them so that nobody's cheating them up.
Yeah, gotcha. Jacob,
My
conclusion.
answer's obviously going to be a little biased because I have one, but I've run it 4 or 5 times. Didn't win a single race with it. I should have won one, but I messed up, and Kyle Lear passed me back. But
2 actually should have won the first night at Path Valley, but we screwed up.
messed up both. Oh no, we had a caution at Path Valley, but it's not like I was going out and it's not like I'm a special driver. I run super some, but it's not. The limited class is freaking hard. Just as
It
hard
is
as
hard.
super
No,
is.
you're 100% right. The limited class
just
is
as
tough.
hard as super
You're
is.
exactly right.
And it's not like I went out and dusted everybody by a straightaway. Like I was running, not like I was struggling to run top 5, but you had to work every night to run top 5, top 3 with a 525 versus a 358. I didn't see any major advantage of a 525 over a limited motor. When it slicks off there, a little bit easier to drive, and you kind of tell yourself you got to really, really drive them hard to kind of keep up with the limited motors. But I think the rules this year at Hagerstown didn't show that they are sort of an equal option, a cheaper option, and ultimately when you can keep more race cars on the racetrack, you're going to draw more fans. It's going to be better racing. It's
More at the front and the back gate.
Yeah.
When more people are on the racetrack, it's a better race for everybody. The racers, the fans, everyone involved, even the promoters. They make more money when more people at the racetrack. So I would continue to encourage the sort of keep them both options.
Okay, there you have it. Okay. Dawn, what would you like to end on, Dawn?
Well, first, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be on the show tonight. It's been very entertaining and listening to a lot of the comments. And there again, education is the key to the success of all of this, whether it's 358 built engines or 525s. But we just look at the environment in racing today. Cost to be competitive is a big problem. And here there's an affordable engine package that's available for limited late models that is proven to be competitive in all different market spaces around. Is there some areas that maybe it has a little bit too much of advantage and some that it doesn't? Yes. But we're all open-minded with this. And like I said in the beginning, I don't want a racer to have to take his built engine out that he's got his hard-earned money invested in and have to buy one of these things to be competitive to win. So the options out there for the tracks, they can reach me. My phone number's on my Facebook page and call, and I'll be more than glad to talk to any of them about it, with how to structure their rules to try to blend it in with it. Mm-hmm. But I just think in the racing world today, everyone's lives is busy. Kids are playing multiple sports. People don't have time to spend 6-7 days a week in the garage. So it makes perfect sense. It's an affordable option that'll be competitive with the built engines. And I just think it's something in that region that the tracks need to get together and get a blanket set of rules that follow the same guidelines, whether it's a steel head version, aluminum head version, or the 525. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Blend them together. And to be honest with you, it's been done in other regions, so it's something that we can do. And sometimes it's a little bit of work in progress, but you just tell the racers up front, Here's where we're starting at. If one of you dominates, we're going to make a change.
Right.
And within 6 months, you've got everybody where 1 week of steelhead's winning, next week of aluminum heads winning, and 525's winning. So it makes it work for everybody. And I just think that's where, all of what I refer to as weekly racing, I call it working man's late model racing, because everybody has jobs that they work, 40 to 80 hours a week so they could go race on Saturday night. So, but I just think it's a good option for it. And, I'm open to any questions. You can call me anytime, and I'll be more than glad to help the tracks or tech officials to get this thing in that region and get it competitive and make sure that not one engine package is dominant. Like I said, I'm well versed on all forms of engine building, so we've got a lot of knowledge of how to blend this stuff together. And I just think it's a smart business decision for the tracks to allow it to run in a controlled environment and just move forward from there.
Yeah, definitely. I hear what you're saying there, Don. And I tell you, Don, first and foremost, thank you very much for taking your time to talk with me the other day and to come on the show tonight. You've gave a lot of great information, a lot of great facts, and clearly, when you were rattling off a lot of the specs and stuff, your way around the machine shop and the motor business, and I think it's great that we can come together here collectively and air this out and put it out there. And it's a democracy, and people like to be informed, but having the right information that's correct is what people need to base things off of. And I thank you, Don. I really do. And it's great that you're obviously extend your hand out there to anybody that wants to call you and talk about this, not just a track owner, promoter, tech guy, but Joe the racer that's thinking about buying one of these things or just curious. And I really appreciate that, Don, and thank you so much.
Yep, absolutely. And that's one thing with our program. We're very transparent with everything about it. And, if someone's got questions or want to stop by the shop here, I can show them every component in one of them. So just to try to educate them. But I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be on the show and appreciate the conversation that we've had tonight.
Sure, Don. I appreciate it, too. And you have a good holiday season coming up here and a safe one. And we will keep in touch for sure. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ready to end our conversation here with Don Blackshear, Race City Performance. And it's been a plethora of great information tonight to hear from Don. And, Don, you take care, and we'll stay in touch.
Sounds good, Tommy. Thank you very much.
Yep. Bye-bye now. Well, I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, now, Dawn there, that was a lot of good information. You know what? Hey, even if you ain't got a 525 or a 358, you just wanted to tune in, you ought to learn something tonight. Because I know I did, just in general, whatever you take, whatever you're running. You ought to learn something because there's a lot of good information that fella right there possesses. And, wow, he's forgotten more than I know.
I was going to say he's forgotten more than I'll ever know.
Exactly. I can't imagine knowing that much about this stuff, But, ladies and gentlemen, once again, this has been brought to you by TB's Auto Body in Shippensburg, PA, and Cannon's Powder Coating in Chambersburg, PA. And, Jacob, John, I appreciate you guys taking the time to come on Beyond the Tech Shed episode number 2. Jay's Fast Freddy up there doing the due diligence tonight in the AV section, okay? And, don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, this Thursday, the House of Dirt's back in action at 8 o'clock here in Studio 02. We got Devin Freeze of Freeze Motorsports and an up-and-coming young driving star, KJ Massey. She'll be in the house as well, okay? She's got some news. It's already been broadcasted out there, and some of you may not know, but she'll be taking over the wheel here of a Legends car under the Freeze Motorsports umbrella in 2026. So everybody's pretty excited about that. But, until next time, ladies and gentlemen, no matter what you're doing, you do it. And you do it elbows up with big energy. Have a great night. We appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate your support. We love all of you. We'll see you then. Take care.